Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Global News Review. My name is Ola and I'm a finance professional. And what I do on this channel is explain personal finance, investing, and the economy in simple English. So if that's your tea, then I welcome you to subscribe and join the community. So on these sessions, which holds every Saturday West African time GMT plus 1 9 a.m. That was a lot to say. What we do is that we explain global news and how it affects your pockets in simple English. Why is this important? Because it's just like being a farmer, investing just like being a farmer. The environment matters, the weather forecast matters, things like that. What's happening on the outside impacts your investment. So the idea is for you to be more aware and take informed decisions or to be able to see things ahead of time and then position yourself appropriately. And today, like as with every other day, we have quite interesting news to cover. And we start from global news. Now, the first news out of the global scene is that Alphabet, an executive in Apple announced that um, Apple is considering infusing some AI powered search engine into their Safari browser. Now, what's the backstory? Like, it sounds like, okay, what does that mean to me? The backstory is that every year Apple pays Google 20 billion to use, and that's one backstory. On the other side, the US Department of Justice has been trying to break up Google. The same way, if you watch The Men Who Built America, and I've talked about this so many times on this channel, I highly recommend you watch that, especially if you're a business person, you have long goals, you just want to see how things evolve over time. Oh, there's something in my eye. How things evolve over time and how businesses that are global have been built, then I recommend that. Now, if you watch that, then you know that there was something around antitrust law being established. When a company becomes too big, they are forced to split up. Now, the Department of Justice is trying to pull a a stunt on Google, and what they're saying is that Google is too powerful and their search engine is too powerful. Like they need to split up. Now, what is interesting is that an executive in Apple was invited for the hearing on how exactly to split up this Google that we are talking about. And this was when he disclosed this. What did he say? He said that, that for the first time in April, the use of Safari browser dropped for the very first time, and that and for them, they believe that is AI that is taking up that space. People would still search any which way, but what are they using to search? And so for them, they are thinking, or they are seriously considering infusing AI powered, AI backed or AI tools to search, as against just depending on Google alone. Now, when that announcement was made, what do you think happened? Google's stock price, which is Alphabet, that's the company that owns Google, their stock price crashed by almost 7%. Now, what do I think about it? The bigger picture is that this whole antitrust thing, if they're able to successfully pull it off against Google, everybody, I see some people are here, everybody, every other big tech is going to come for, they're going to get their own, everybody's going to collect. So there's a space in which some of this communication, right, you thank you, welcome, Michelle. There's a place in which some of this communication, you have to also understand the PR and the positioning impact of it, because it does not serve any of them, any of the big techs, to actually have one split up, because that just becomes the prototype for everybody else, if you get my point. So there's that PR positioning part of this conversation. That's one. Now, on the other hand, also as an Apple user, Apple executive, Google investor, the question is, what impact does it have for you? The major thing you need to understand is that AI is here. The same way there was oil, and then we now move to tech, the next thing we are moving to is AI. So I ask you as an investor, what AI thing are you investing in? Because that's the future. So if you think about the fact that some people bought Nvidia was like less than $100, see where it is right now. Or when you think about Warren Buffett and how if you had followed him, you'll be declaring what, 5,000x over a 30-year period. Do you understand? Right? So that's how we need to think about this. So yes, there's all that noise, but in the midst of this noise, understand that the same way tech was the new oil, right? AI is the new tech. So bear that in mind in your investment portfolio. So, and it is still risky right now, but fortune favors the brave, right? So like for example, okay, if you don't know, these sessions are powered by the Money with Club, and in Money with Club, we have intermittently brought some AI type investments or AI powered or AI tool type investment opportunities, right? Why? Because it's the future. It actually is the future. It's the future. And what happens is that if you put in a tiny seed when it is small and it's not visible, it's not whatever, when you give it time, when it matures, because it eventually will. Everybody be wondering, how did you know? How did you know? But it's just that see the handwriting on the wall, yeah? See the handwriting on the wall. Hi, E. Good morning. Good morning. Now, off to the next news. Next news out of this one I found quite interesting. So, in the whole spirit of make America great again, Trump is saying that he wants to put tariffs on foreign films that are coming, and now it's not even clear, but he just said foreign films. Now the low hanging impact is first this, the fact that a lot of American producers, American studios actually go out of America to produce their films. Why? Because it is actually cheaper. Now, I know for a fact that I think in South Africa, there's like a 50% rebate for producing the movie in South Africa, right? Just imagine. So if somebody is producing a movie in America on at 1 million, just by moving to South Africa, it will be 500K. Now, you might not want to fly all the way from America to South Africa, but what we find is that Canada gets some of that, Europe gets some of that, what's it called, demand for production, for cheaper, affordable production. Now, what is President Trump saying? He's basically saying that no, all these things that people are doing outside, better bring it back. Now, what is unclear? The question is, okay, are you going to put this tariff on the cost of the movie? Where are you going to charge the tariffs? Is it for things that go to the cinema alone? Or does it affect things that are going to be on streaming platforms? How are we going to do this? Because if you think about a streaming platform, you pay one subscription, eh? After you pay the subscription, you have access to everything. So how would they, it's not quite clear. But what is clear is that something is coming for the movie industry. Now, I want to also want to that here, even in terms of, because I mean, in the club, we have invested in Nigeria that have been sold to video on demand companies. So you invest in Naira and get your returns in USD. Fantastic. Now, for us in Nigeria, our movie production cost, yes, you might question the value, the quality, if it's of the same global standard, but our movie production cost is quite cheap in dollar terms, such that 100% tariff might not necessarily increase. I mean, how many people in Nigeria do $1 million projects? How many? I think the only one that I know that probably hit that kind of budget was Black Book based on their communication, their public communication, right? But apart from that, how many movies in Nigeria actually, how many people actually gather 1.6 billion naira to do a movie? How many movies have sold in the cinema for 1.6 billion naira? Do you get in Nigeria? So I feel like even with this tariff, right, there's a case where um African movies still have a place in the global scene in the US market, right? And so we need to watch and see how these things will evolve over time. But I dare say that things are happening, and then Mr. Trump is touching everything touchable because he wants to make America great again. Um, and just while we are switching over to the next news, African news, I just want to tell you that if you have been eyeing Money with Club, by noon today, the website will be open for you to join the community. So if you have friends that should be part of the community, or if you've joined the wait list, we'll send an email out at 12 noon today with a link to join. But it's a regular link because it should just be live. Before now, if you go there right now, you have to join the wait list, right? But if you want to join the Money Week Club, want to get part of the deals, want to get this education, um, that we are getting once a week here, spot on, ask your questions. Yeah, the Money Week Club is for you. I might be able to play a testimonial at the end. I'm not sure, but let's see. But yes, check us out, the Money with Club, and join us if you are able to. You are very welcome. So let's move to African news. This one I just put it out of mischief. So Kenya's 2025 budget avoids new taxes. If you were tracking Kenya last year, you know that when they released their budget with proposal of new taxes, man, it was like as if hell was let loose. Like it was so dramatic. They were what's it called? Protests. People were killed. It was just back to back. So this year, said no. It's just mischief that I put up here. But it just shows the power of engagement, right? It just shows the power of engagement and the fact that whilst we do not like the fact that properties were destroyed, lives were lost with leadership, it sends a message, right? And that's the handshake between politics and the economy. You have to engage, right? And so this their budget, they're like, there are no new taxes, nothing. We're not touching anything. Let's just be going as we are going, right? So big ups to Kenya, to the leadership for listening, and to the people for fighting for what they want. Well done. And then, oh, Trump and AFDB. So there's this news, right? It just whispers, like we couldn't necessarily it wasn't exactly mainstream, but there's information that there's going to be a funding cut to the AFDB. That's the African. Can you hear me now? Hey God, oh. Um, not sure what the status is. If someone should confirm that they can hear me. I'm not exactly sure what the status is right now, so I don't go too far. I'm almost done, anyways. You can hear me now. Okay, so I'm going to start again. I'm going to start from the news that the Trump government or President Trump is cutting financing or funding to AFDB. And I've talked about the impact. The impact is basically first on people, real human beings. Okay, fantastic. Real human beings who work there, who depend on the company for their livelihood. That's one. But the bigger impact of this is on people, the impact, the actual people that they impact with their projects, right? If, for example, the 500 million would have funded 10 underdeveloped countries in Africa, right? The fact is, by the time this funding gets pulled out, if it actually eventually does, because there's always this negotiation back and forth, middle ground kind of thing. But if it eventually gets pulled out, you will be shocked the things that you are seeing in your environment in Africa that is being funded by these projects or by this development banks and the money that comes from them, if you understand what I mean. A very interesting season, there is a case for us to actually wake up and start owning our story, because nobody's here as big brother anymore, right? So we need to bear that in mind in what we are doing as Africans. And so if you are in a position to invest in something that is viable and take some risk and it's not a single part of your portfolio, I recommend that you do so, because things are changing and changing quite quickly. And then finally, for Nigerians, right? Nigeria plans to offer, the news headline was $186 million, but the actual news is 300 billion naira. I don't know why we are talking in dollars, right? But I get, because when you talk about climate, there's an ecosystem around climate investing, clean investing, sustainability, and all that, and they think in dollars, right? So that's valid. But basically, what are they saying? They are issuing green bonds. In the next 2 weeks, they're going to issue 50 billion naira worth of green bonds. And then before the end of the year, they'll issue a balance of 250 million. Now, what are green bonds? They are basically bonds that are going to fund specific clean related projects, climate related projects. It could be EV funding, it could be clean water, all those kind of things. So their project, they can't just fund any and everything. They can't definitely fund anything that has to be fossil fuels, things like that. So they are raising financing for this. They want to fund those projects through specific financing. Now, for the Nigerian government, like 2 3 weeks ago, we talked about signing the climate policy. Then they are coming out with this. What are we saying? We are positioning ourselves as a clean country. Yeah, let's see. It's all the traffic and the fumes, but yeah, we move, right? But it's positioning, right? And they're positioning themselves as a country that is particular about climate change and the impact of it, and slowing down that degeneration, right? So they will get cheap funding. That is a good catch here. When you are inside in those kind of projects, funding is usually cheaper, right? Funding is usually cheaper. And then because there is funding which is cheap, you can do stuff that would get people into jobs. Do you get? So the economy grows. So it's good for the economy, right? But for you as an individual who wants to invest, yes, when those things are announced, you might get, depending on how it's structured, get access to it. But the returns are usually cheaper than government bonds, are usually lower than regular government bonds, right? So you decide how motivated you are about climate change to lose those 1 2 3 4% depending on the difference, right? That's one. But the one that is actually quite interesting is that they're planning a USD bond or issuance in 2026. And I would say that if you're part of those people that, oh, I have dollars, I don't know where to invest, and I want to spread my risk across, those kind of that bond will be something you should look out for also. On this note, I just want to thank you for your communication and engagement today, and wish you a beautiful week ahead. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button. We do this every Saturday. We also have videos that come up on Thursday evenings. Oh, and I forgot to mention our book of the month. Yes, please, before we run, our book of the month, Richest Man in Babylon. I actually have it here. I was looking for it just a few minutes before the session started. But it's a really good book. It tells a story. It's a story, there's a plot, and it's quite interesting and very, very informative, I dare say, extremely informative. So we would the link will be in the description on this, and then we encourage us to read. Why? Reading is one of the ways that you build your mind and your reasoning around stuff, especially when it comes to